My name is Sarah, and I have the pleasure of meeting you to discuss new modalities and new topics that are really making a difference out there. So, buckle up and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to the Healing Tree Hub once again. I have been really looking forward to this particular subject. It seems to be, again, one of those themes that have been going through the last few weeks. This one might be a little controversial, so please, if this does not fit for you, if it's just not sitting right, if it's not aligning with you, that is absolutely perfectly fine. This is something that is my hypothesis. You won't find this information in a book. It was downloaded to me. I think it was in the shower. That's usually where most of my downloads are, to be honest. But I was just sitting there thinking about many of the issues that my clients had been coming in with that week. And I kept hearing all over socials and Instagram, trust your instinct, trust your instinct, trust your instinct. And something didn't feel right about it. I know this is going to sound really, really strange, but I'm going to ask you to just try this on as if it's a pair of pants and you're not sure if it's going to fit and you're not sure if it's going to work for you, but I'm just going to ask you to try it on anyway. And by the end of this podcast, see if this pair of pants fits you, because the people that I have spoken to about this hypothesis of mine have really resonated, and it's actually helped them shift some pretty big things. So what is this conversation about? It's about instinct versus intuition. We are so well versed on what instinct is. So trust your instinct is something that we've heard since we were little, which is absolutely wonderful advice. And at no point am I going to tell you that instinct is wrong or bad. In fact, it's just the opposite. If it wasn't for instinct, we wouldn't be able to really survive here on Earth in our earthly bodies. At some point, a car would have taken us out because we walked along the road when we shouldn't have, or we would have trusted some really, really nasty character and, taken lollies from them or something like that. Instinct is super important. It's how our human brain, which is like a machine, keep us safe while we're living here on Earth. And that's really important because we know that we're spirits having human experience, but we still need the machinery to be able to handle the challenges that we're faced with in our daily life. So here's the thing. I wanted to have a chat about the pros and cons of listening to your instinct, and then we're going to have a chat about what intuition is. I'm going to make a really bold statement right now, and hear me out. I don't think we should 100% of the time trust our instinct. Before you throw things at my head, hear me out. Instinct is of course there to protect us, but it's a huge amount of data that's been collected by our human brain, our machined brain, based on past experiences of our own, of people around us, of our ancestors, of our family, or even people on TV. It is based on stories that we tell ourselves to keep ourselves protected. Now, you guys have heard my conversation about story versus fact many, many times. There is very little fact in the stories that we tell ourselves. Stories are something that we're basing on our past experiences or past experiences of other people. So for example, if I walked down the street and I saw someone didn't smile back at me that I knew, and it looked as though they were ignoring me, I could quite easily create a large story based on the fact that that person actually doesn't like me, is trying to avoid me. I've probably done something really bad to upset them and I have absolutely no idea what it is. And I could spend the rest of my day trusting that instinctual feeling that I'm in trouble, I've done something wrong, it means something bad about myself. The fact could be that that person maybe was feeling a little insecure that day and would prefer not to see anyone else because they were going through their own thing. Or the fact could be that they didn't see me. Yet the story I told myself based on my instinct was I've done something wrong and I'm making it mean something bad about me, that I'm unlikable. Now, this is really, really important. Anytime we're experiencing stories in our head that feel like instinct, it usually sits in that solar plexus area. So for those of you that aren't really feeling comfortable with the chakras as yet, it is that chakra there is a beautiful yellow chakra that sits at the top of your stomach, just underneath your ribs. It's how we express ourselves. It's also where a lot of our anxiety sits in life. Again, this is just a hypothesis, try it on, that there's something to this, that if we're feeling the sensation there, if we're feeling the emotion there, if we're feeling the anxiety reaping up in that area, or even in the heart space sometimes too, I truly believe that's instinct. But have you ever had the instinct that someone is dodgy and you don't want to be near them and you're actually quite afraid? Or have you had the instinct, I might not cross the road right now because I feel like I'm going to get run over because it's way too busy? Or I don't know if I trust that dog. There's a theme to all of these. Every bit of that instinct is fear-based. And that's how we can tell when it's our human brain finding patterns, that information collected from the past experiences and bringing it to the forefront to see, okay, well, A plus B equals C. So you've got to be careful because it's most likely going to turn out this way. And the kicker there is it's all fear-based. Now, it sounds like I'm bashing instinct. Absolutely, I am not. A mother's instinct, for example, is all she's got. And when she's starting off and she's learning to be a mother, I just knew when my baby's cry meant that they were hungry, or I just knew when my baby needed a hug. And I am so thankful that my instinct was so on point as a mother, that I knew when my baby needed that extra love or extra cuddle or a nappy change. I think it was really based on listening to my body, listening to the cues coming through from my nervous system. What's my nervous system telling me? The thought of my baby going hungry struck fear through my system. The thought of getting it wrong struck fear, worry, concern, guilt, shame. All of those things came from my instinctual patterns of, oh no, I've got to get this right. I've got to make sure my baby's fed. This is really important, and it's part of the human experience. We can't survive without our instinct. However, our instinct isn't always right. It isn't always the truth. Just like that scenario where I was second guessing something about myself because someone didn't smile back at me. That was story and not fact. And the problem is when we assume that our instinct is always going to be on point, our instinct is always going to be 100% to be trusted, we can find ourselves in a world of anxiety. We can find ourselves really struggling because we don't know if we're going mad or crazy, but we feel like we can't trust anything. And all of a sudden, the world becomes a really, really scary place. I have seen people that are so instinct-based that they don't leave their house anymore. They literally stay in their home that they're in because they think there is a good probability if they leave that house, there is a good chance they are going to be harmed or unsafe. This is when instinct overruns. And this instinct doesn't just come from their experience. It may have been family that were in the Holocaust, for example. It may have been people in her family that were in war zones. And who's to say? We truly don't know. Who's to say there's not some sort of DNA transfer of instinct? I mean, this is biological, of course. It's going through the biology of our DNA. Who's to say? We don't know anything about this. But what I really feel is accurate here is that instinct is biological. It's part of our nervous system. It is not divine. It is something that our nervous system has adapted. And this became really evident after I did my trauma-informed course. I learned about how much the body keeps score. And it was a really interesting theory about how every bit of trauma we experience even the smallest amount, it has a memory inside our system. And from an energetic point of view, it can sit there like dense energy. But the nervous system holds score. And it's almost this particular course that I had done, which I recommend to everybody because it was absolutely brilliant. I'll put it in the link. It's free at the moment. It's absolutely amazing. This trauma-informed course that I did, it really spoke about how technically, I mean, this is just a theory, but all personality is a trauma response. And that might be a little shocking for some of you to hear, but if you think about it, no matter how wonderful your childhood was, no matter how wonderful things were, you may find that every single thing that occurred to you, happened in your life, molded your personality in one way or another. And we're not just talking about all the trauma, bad stuff, etc. Also, the good stuff would have been molding your personality and your belief systems. And these belief systems are so impactful because they will change the way your brain sees the world. It will change your world view. And if your world view becomes a very scary world where people hurt you, then your instinct is going to match that to protect you from that. It's really fascinating. The more I research it, the more I'm getting a good grip that instinct is this nervous system response based on all the belief systems that we had, our ancestors had, and I do really believe it even goes as far as DNA. So it travels through your grandma held her daughter's eggs and so forth. So I think it really does go through that line. Okay, so that's instinct. So if we can't 100% trust our instinct, then what on earth do we trust? Well, there's one we haven't spoken about today, and that is intuition. Now again, try this on. I truly believe that intuition has nothing to do with our biological system. Nothing to do with ourselves, nothing to do with our nervous system, nothing to do with our belief systems even. It is purely a channeled energy that runs from our higher mind into our physical being. So I don't believe that our human brain was supposed to do this whole journey alone. I don't believe that it was supposed to be all for us to figure out here on earth. I believe we've forgotten so much and that we were supposed to be supported by our higher mind as much as possible. But because many of us actually forgot we even had a higher mind, a soul, a higher self, whatever you want to call it, we thought we were here alone. We thought we had to figure it all mechanically. But that's why so many people are struggling with anxiety, depression, habits that are causing them absolute havoc in their daily life, trying to make sure that everything is under control in this most uncontrollable environment. It's too much. We were never built for this. But when we start to connect into ourselves spiritually, and that might be through religion, it might be through a spiritual practice, it might be through meditation, whatever it is, I truly believe we connect to that higher mind and we take that pressure off our own system. And we allow and surrender, and this is the major part of this, surrendering to information and intelligence that streams into us like a download. Just like I mentioned earlier, how this whole hypothesis came along was my divine information, my divine intuition coming through. The divine intuition streams in like a beautiful river. That's the best way I can describe it. It doesn't cause fear. It makes you feel almost the opposite to fear. It provides you information that sometimes even excites you, that soothes you, that makes you feel like you want to lead into a different direction. So for example, I was working on a project with work and it was just not running. Like I couldn't quite get it to move. It was my virtual meditations. I tried so hard to get these virtual meditations moving and I thought, oh, this will just be great. So many people will love them, live virtual meditations. I could have like 100 people there and it will just be so great across the world. I can just imagine how great it would be. It flopped. It flopped so hard, as some things do in business. And I thought, what is going on? And I kept trying. It was like flogging a dead horse. I just kept trying with this. I wasn't even enjoying it towards the end. I was like, this is annoying. Like, I was giving them out for free. I was doing whatever I could. I'd get maybe 10 maximum interested in it. I could not get it off the ground. Yet all other areas of my business was flourishing. My live classes were just exploding with interest. My workshops were getting booked out. And then the information flowed through. So I decided to let go for now of the virtual meditations that I was trying so hard in resistance. It was like I was just getting blocked every step. Yet when I was physically opening up sessions, my clients were flying in. This was the alignment. It was so easy and I felt so excited. Yet when I thought about trying to flog the dead horse of virtuals, I was full of anxiety and worry that things were failing, that I was failing. You see, there's two responses you will have that will really let you know which program is playing. Is it your instinct, which is most of the time fear-based, survival-based? Or is this fun, interesting, exciting, and aligning? Like a brand new idea you can't wait to try out. That is intuition. And it doesn't actually have to be a project for work. Intuition could be what you want to actually feed your family that night, what kind of stew you're going to make and what ingredients you're going to go pluck out of the garden or go shopping for. It's that fun, thrilling feeling that runs through you, and it could be subtle, really, really subtle, but it's this, oh yeah, I want to do that feeling instead of, oh my God, my kids are having way too much sugar. I shouldn't be using Vegeta. Oh my God, there's too much. You see the difference? One's fear-based, one is aligning. And when we start to trust that the information we need will flow, it will open up the minute we ask for it. The minute we make that commitment to our higher mind, please keep sending me all this good stuff. I don't want to have to do this alone. The information will flow. The information will come. I can almost guarantee it. Because if you ask for help, you will get the help. And you will be very surprised how simple the answers always are. It's almost always this flow effect. And the way I like to explain it to my clients, when you are surrendering to this energy, when you are letting go of the control, when you are finally getting out of the way, it is like, imagine a beautiful waterfall and the destination is the river below. That is the goal. That's where you want to be. And you're at the top of the waterfall. Yet, if you're worrying and getting stuck in your story and really trusting only your instinct, what will happen is your instinct might tell you, oh, don't just flow down, you'll whack rocks. I remember last time I heard on TV, someone went down and they got really cut up. They got really bashed up. Sometimes you need to listen to that. But your intuition might come through and say, hey, I get it. This instinct is important too. If you were to flow down on a beautiful canoe and just let the current take you where it needs to go, the bumps will be soft and there will be no injury. And you will flow so fast into the area that you want to be. You will get there faster, smoother, and easier. Or you could just listen to the fear-based belief systems and clamber onto the rocks and then get whacked into another rock and then get smashed into another until you're bloody and bruised and you've resisted the whole way down. You'll get down there eventually, but at what state? Now, this is something that I'm finding is huge. I truly feel you found this podcast because there's something that you're resisting in your life right now. There's something that all your belief systems are clamming onto rocks like you would not believe, trying to protect you from cuts and bruises because it thinks that that's the only way. It thinks that you have to be in full control to be safe. But I'm here to remind you that you're not alone on this journey. Your higher mind wants to assist you. It benefits your higher mind that you succeed in this evolution. So enjoy the ride and let go of the reins. Ask them for help. Ask for the intuition to be clear and open. And most importantly, trust it. I really hope that this podcast has helped whoever was listening to it. I love this information that was downloaded and channeled, and I just think that it is such a lovely reminder that we are not alone and that sometimes we need to let go and surrender. And please, of course, trust your intuition when you're crossing the road. Trust your intuition when it's something physical that you need to keep you alive on this plane. That's why it's there. That's why it is important. But when it comes to the spiritual decisions in your life, when it comes to big, big decisions, do I stay? Do I go? Do I apply for that job? Do I really want to continue this relationship? Those kind of big questions in life, intuition's going to get you there. Absolutely. Don't let fear rip you off. Don't let those belief systems that have been embedded in your nervous system for all these years stop you. And you may find that during this exact process, you'll start to let go of some of the belief systems that you have held on so tight to, because you're receiving evidence that that is not true. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Bye.